All right, let's say welcome to the 50th meeting of the Junto Club. Where we were inspired by the original Junto Club founded by Benjamin Franklin in 1927 to discuss topics including religion, science, philosophy, politics, and business. So, I mean, for today, I'm just recently read a book called Outlive, basically how to live longer. So, but before we go there, I'm not sure if we're gonna start with a quote for today, and I'm not sure if we actually talked about this quote before, but I'm just gonna go for it anyway because it's kind of related. The quote is, "Religion is a culture of faith, and science is a culture of doubt," by Richard Feynman. Have we talked about this quote before?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's good. Perfect. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I like it.
No disagreements on. We don't need to debate this quote.
I don't think we'll have to debate it. It's pretty clear,
Mhm.
very snappy. And I don't think many people would debate it because I mean, obviously, if at least most religions very emphasize the faith element very strongly, right?
Yeah.
The faithful. So I don't think they'd argue with that. And then yeah, science on the science side, I mean, the scientific method is basically that you're supposed to test everything and prove everything, which is inherent doubt, right? Like we always test compared to the, negative or the, I forget the name. What's the
name?
like
null hypothesis? Or?
Yeah, the null hypothesis. That's what I was trying to think of, right? So we always, assume the null hypothesis and then see how likely it is that that's not true, right? You're not assuming your ideas. So
yeah. Anything from you, Mike?
No, I mean, I basically agree with what Matt said. I mean, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, I think the problem is that a lot of people, I think the science, the culture of doubt, I think a lot of people I think most people don't think about it that way, right? I think even though, I mean, you think about it that way because you've been doing the research about graduate school, but I think most people just don't think, when the people talk about science, they all the time they use science. Okay, this is science instead of to giving a good reason of what is really done, right? And just for example, in COVID times, like when I talk about when I talk to people about COVID, like restrictions and masks and stuff, right? And a lot of people all the time, especially on the left, right? When they just say, okay, CDC is saying this, so this, Dr. Fauci is saying this is science, and so you should do whatever they say instead of questioning the science, right? So it's not easy. They almost equate like whatever the scientists say as actual science, right?
Right. Well, I think in that time there definitely was a mindset of like, and I think even scientists fell into this where it's like where science is like an absolute, right? Or like what science said is like fact as opposed to like constantly like I guess being under peer review and under scrutiny, right? So, and I think, and then there were people on the other side where it's like, oh, science is fact, yet these facts aren't like, oh, masks aren't 100% effective or whatever, so they're not effective at all. So it's like, yeah, like, so I guess like the human mind, I think, can fall pretty easily fall into like extremism, right? So it's like, so science like the fact that science is like I can't remember what the word the quote used was, so a culture of doubt. Yeah, so like I mean, so science is about sort of doubt and proving and reproving, which and I think that doesn't lend itself well to like people's minds, which can be extremes, so it's like if like science doesn't, if there's something that doesn't bear out, like it doesn't mean that it was 100% true or 100% untrue. It was like it was true under these circumstances, right? I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. People want to black and white things when it's like, well, in certain circumstances, something has certain effectiveness, right? So it's not just like a does this work, yes or no. But I mean, I think you could get a little more nuanced and say it's kind of a culture of reasonable doubt, right? Like, scientists doubt things and they want, like, if you're going to make a claim, they're going to want evidence, and the strength of the evidence should be proportional to the strength of the claim, right? Like if you're saying something pretty obvious, probably don't need to prove it that hard, but you're saying something that's like going to upturn like everything we know, you know, you need like rock solid experiment that everyone can reproduce and be like, you're right. So with that regards, having doubt is definitely good, but there's also people who are like, you know, there's like a, you know, a scientific consensus in the community, you know, the scientific community has tested something and says this is like, you know, our best estimate, theory, whatever. And then they're like, well, I'm going to doubt it because I saw a Facebook meme. You know, that's not a scientific doubt, right? That's just not wanting to believe something that disagrees with your priors. You know, that's like a just like an emotional rejection, right? So
Conspiracy theory.
yeah, can be. So there's reasonable and unreasonable doubt, right? So doubt's important, but that doesn't mean you can just like brush off anything for no reason. And you know, at least and should be, you know, I mean, you can do that for yourself, but people shouldn't like believe you.
Yeah. True. Smoking is bad for you. Earth, flat Earth theory, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. I mean, the reason this quote is relevant is because you know, the main topic is Outlive is about the book Outlive. It's basically talk about longevity and the science of longevity, how to live longer. But most of this stuff is since it's biology, right? It's biology actually is much harder than like physical science, like physics and other stuff, right? Physics, you know, it's very concrete. You can gravity, you can experience yourself, but even space, right? But however, you know, like biology is probably the most nuanced. I guess the experiments that we do, like clinical trials and stuff like that, is really hard to do. So I guess biological science is more full of doubt, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, so before we go to the main topics, the mini topic we want to talk about is my questions for Matt is the Reddit mod revolt thing. I think it happened last week or a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. They started the I don't know, blackout last week, a week ago.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go through it. What happened?
Yeah.
Trying to keep it quick. Basically, Reddit changed their pricing for their API. So they have an API that third-party platforms can use. For instance, there are third-party apps that just give you access to Reddit, kind of like a Reddit app that's unofficial.
Oh.
So they use the Reddit's official API to like access the stuff the site has and, you know, let people have accounts and post comments and whatever. Some of these are just popular just because they're better than the Reddit's app because Reddit's official app's kind of garbage. And then there's a few that are like things for more access for disabled people and stuff like that. So making them more accessible. So anyway, Reddit like added a price. And it's like you're now going to have to pay, and it's going to be a lot. Like for like one of the big apps is like in the millions a month. Is like what of their fee, which is basically just means they're all going to like have to shut down. So this created, you know, a revolt, especially amongst you know, it's hard to say exactly how many people on Reddit cared, but there were like some of the like heavy users and a lot of the mods in particular were upset because a lot of the mods use these third-party tools to sort of control their subreddits and do their moderation stuff. And then this got spicier because the CEO of Reddit has like kept saying things that make people upset. Like he's just, some people are like, well, what do you say to people that feel like Reddit's just becoming like focused about the money or, you know, business oriented? And he's like, well, we're going to keep doing that until Reddit becomes profitable, just like straight up. And he said like, he's like, this is like when a bunch of subreddits signed up to blackout for a couple days. And he just made a comment that was like, it's just going to blow over, you know, we'll just wait it out.
Gotcha.
So things like that have been upsetting people. So this is my attempt to give a relatively neutral presentation of what's happened. I guess to finish the history, a lot of subreddits were blacked out for a couple days, and then over the next few days, a good, maybe probably a majority of them have come back at least to some degree normal. And then towards the end of the week, basically the Reddit admins start to say they're going to start looking at subreddits to take away the mod powers from people and give them to other people who will open them back up. So just in case you don't know, basically the first person who makes a subreddit on Reddit who just like types in the name and says create this, they get absolute control to do whatever they want, and the subreddit is their domain. So that's how it works. So then you would need an admin, someone who actually works for the company, to replace them. But otherwise, the mods are just like free random people online, anonymous, and they just sort of get to do what they want. So that's like the structure of Reddit. So this is like a case where admins might go in and like start plucking them out and being like, no. And sort of some backstory, there's a lot of what's called power mods on Reddit, which are basically people who like make moderating Reddit their like main thing they do. Like it's not clear if most of them even have a job or not, because they'll like moderate like dozens of subreddits, some of them with like multiple of like the big ones where there's millions of people. So there's like a core cluster of power mods that sort of like control Reddit, which sounds kind of like, you know, Illuminati, but it is how it is. So so then getting very personal, I don't care really at all about these third-party things. I could understand the sort of accessibility thing, but like after the very initial feedback, basically the Reddit as like a company was like, okay, we're going to work with accessibility focused third-party apps to like let them still do for free. So they're going to like find a few and let them kind of basically slide so that they can be like, you know, for the nice PR, make sure they don't make things less accessible for people. But I feel like a lot of this is just mods who want to hold on to their power. And I understand that they might lose some of their tools, but in my head, I'm like, well, if you just weren't trying to like control so much, right? Like if you weren't trying to be like control a bunch of huge subreddits, you wouldn't need all these special tools to automate things. You could just sort of spread out the power, right? Moderate one subreddit, add more people to help like do the basic work. Because it's like not like you got to do much really. You just really just there to like remove spam and stuff, right? That's their main purpose. But so I've been kind of enjoying watching the mods sort of like freak out as they potentially lose power. But there are a lot of people on Reddit who are pissed at the company for it. So there's, you know, infighting.
Gotcha.
That is the story.
So you don't like the mods?
I personally don't like mods. I think most of the time they're annoying. There are occasionally good mods, but they're the exception.
What annoying in what way?
They'll just like ban people and remove stuff based on their opinion, basically. Like, you know, there's like supposed to be like rules about like what you can and can't do and stuff, but mods break them all the time and just do whatever, and they're just like whatever. It's like, I mean, it's like any HOA, right? Or police, right? It's like anything. Like someone gets power, they abuse it, right? But in this case, it's like someone who lives in a basement and gets their main like value of life from moderating an internet forum, essentially, right? So the the preponderance of abuse is very high because that's what these people are basically living for, right? You know, that power to, you know, be able to just like shut someone up with a click of their button and be like, you're not allowed to talk on the subreddit anymore. You are, you know, banished.
Interesting. That's cool. Why you don't care?
No, I mean, I don't use Reddit, but I mean, I can see, I mean, I can see I mean, I guess I just like APIs, like just in the sense of like, I mean, I do like the ideas of like these different tools and websites having them. I honestly don't necessarily foresee a solid use for Reddit's API or like the need for third-party tools, just because like by the nature of what it is, like I feel like, you know, yeah, I guess as Matt was getting at, like just allowing people to have like discourse and like there shouldn't need to be a lot of moderation, right? Like the whole point of this is like sort of discourse and just open discussion. But
that's Twitter.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yes, Twitter is the public square or whatever.
So Matt, do you know why?
Oh, why they did this API thing?
Yeah, why they want to start doing this now?
They're trying to IPO. So they're trying to make the company more profitable. I think the reason they're going after, so it might be like 10 to 15% of people might access Reddit through not like the official website or app, but like third-party stuff. And I think they're going after that because they can get better, they can advertise on their official platforms.
Direct, yeah.
And like probably do more tracking and stuff. So I think they can get a little more money when people are using their official stuff. And Reddit, like a lot of social media, Reddit's like one of these companies that's like never been profitable. So they
Mm-hmm.
bring in money, but they somehow spend more money.
Gotcha.
And it's like a lot of social media places, but they keep getting like bought and handed around because it's like, it's a big thing. So everyone's like, oh, there's like, this is a major thing online, so there's got to be value in it, right? Just people haven't been able to extract it. Interesting when it comes to profitability, because as this came up, apparently in 2021 they had around 700 employees,
Mm.
and in about 2 years they went up to 2,000 employees.
Mm.
A very significant increase. And as
Yeah.
someone who uses the website too much, you might question, well, what are all those people doing? The answer is nothing important, seemingly. There's a
Yeah.
few really stupid features that literally no one cares about, some of which they've already like put on and then deleted. Like they're
Yeah.
already gone. One of them was they had tried to do like a live streaming thing, like
Mm-hmm.
built into Reddit, I guess, to compete with like Twitch.
Mm.
And they were like pushing it for months, and then like that's just they dropped it. So they're just wasting money on stuff like that. And then there's still like basic bugs that have been there for like years that they haven't resolved. So a lot of people are like, I'm in the camp of, on one hand, I don't care about them shitting on third-party apps, but on the other hand, I'm like, if you really want to be profitable, why do you have so many people like seemingly doing nothing to make the website better? Like, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't need that many people. The website, it's not like they made the website an app with a lot less people. 700, most of Reddit's growth happened when it was smaller than a 700 person
Yeah.
company, right? So they've already
Mm-hmm.
proven that they can make and operate it with a lot less people. So what's that extra 1,000 or more doing
Mm-hmm.
besides costing you hundreds of millions of dollars on payroll?
Mm. Yeah.
This might be you. This might be an area you can answer to me, but I'm wondering, and this is just total speculation, but I was like, is this a situation where they got like investor money and they just like had to spend it to show growth and doing something? They couldn't just like hold on to it because they got it. So they're like, we have to hire people because it just seems like totally unnecessary growth, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
a company.
Yeah. I'm not. But it sounds like a trend during the pandemic, like 2020, right? Or 2019. During that period of time, there's a lot of money flowing around, zero interest rate, right? So they
Mhm.
probably do get some money, and so during that time, a lot like Facebook, other companies hire some, like Facebook too, right? So every tech company was on a hiring spree. So during that period of time, just all free money flowing around, and they just overhire actually. So I wonder if the Reddit did some layoff recently. They probably did.
They did
Uh,
but really small, like it's like 5 or
uh
10% when they hired almost tripled their employee
Gotcha.
workforce in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like Twitter dropping 80% of its
Yeah.
employees, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
um,
they need someone like Elon Musk coming and just like kind of force. You don't. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It just seems like because certainly Reddit could bring in revenue, but it seems like in my mind, it's like this is obviously not like a thing that's just going to have massive growth potential. I guess there's always the chance they do something amazing that no one ever thought about,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like no one's interested in just like being like, hey, we have a major position and like the landscape. Let's just like hold on to this, be lean, and like bring in a profit. But
Yeah.
I'm not a
So
business person, so
yeah.
Wow.
So another thing. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was just gonna say Facebook, like investing an outrageous amount of money in the metaverse. That doesn't seem to be like going particularly well.
Yeah. During meantime, but they're not focused on that anymore, right? So they're focused on. I mean, someone wrote a letter to, I guess, some investors, whatever, and basically the price of the Meta stock dropped right
Mhm.
tonight under $100, and then a lot of people were basically giving Mark Zuckerberg feedbacks on like, oh, Meta is just not. You need to focus on something in the core business, right? Like AI, for example,
Mhm.
right? So he kind of stepped back from the effort on a virtual VR stuff, right?
Mhm.
Metaverse stuff. So.
Well, I would at least say
So that's why the price actually the Facebook price stock price actually went back up now.
I mean I agree their escapades into the metaverse and VR haven't been super profitable yet. I
Mm-hmm.
mean they did sell a lot of quests, but they
Mm-hmm.
weren't really making money off that. But I mean, I think you can look at Apple, right? Apple just released their new headset as well.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think they're investing a lot of money and it might not work out, but it's a space I would say it's almost inevitable that
Mm-hmm.
VR AR stuff is going to grow and become a big market one day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not as much of I mean, it's a gamble, but it seems like a more reasonable gamble, right? There's like a concrete, like this is a future tech that's been growing, and like one day there's going to be like a boom when it becomes sort of much more commonplace, and they're just trying to push the technology to get in on that early.
Mm-hmm.
That's different from I don't know what Reddit was doing, which is just that it seemed like Reddit was more just like throwing mud on a wall to see what sticks, not like
Yeah.
chasing a specific thing that might be just really hard to do.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, talking about AI, I guess one thing about people are talking about the reason actually Reddit start doing this is because of the ChatGPT on its open AI stuff, like net large language models. They are actually
Mm,
trained on Reddit, and
mm,
if Reddit can start doing this API thing, actually, because since people are training on Reddit anyway, so they basically start monetizing that way. Like you're gonna use Reddit of training, we're just gonna ask you to pay for it. So that's one way they try to. I think just people are talking about that Reddit try to push into this like open AI and this AI space kind of in a way.
mm. That is a good point.
Mm.
That's trying to get ahead of the curve on like before as more and more of these models like access that data, like instead of just having them cost Reddit server expenses, try to make
Yeah.
some money.
Mm-hmm.
No, I
Because
think nah, this I could be biased about where I see my stuff, but I've seen people mention like, and I've seen people mention this and it made me try it out and it's true. Like if you want to Google things nowadays, like especially if it's like a question about how to do something or how like if a product's actually good or stuff like that, if you just include Reddit in the Google search, it's so much better. Like,
yeah.
and I explicitly tried the other day doing this with like asking questions without including Reddit, and you get so many dumbass articles that are like just the worst, like
Mm-hmm.
trash, like thrown out rant, terrible article that has like giant ads everywhere, just like
Mm-hmm.
obviously like spam shit. And
Yeah.
then like you go and you just add Reddit to the Google search, and then you get
Oh
like a
really?
discussion with people who are like actual people actually discussing the thing. And you're like,
Ah.
man, this is like so much better. So
Yes.
I feel like yeah, Reddit does have it has its corner, right? Obviously, it's not the biggest social media thing like Twitter and TikTok are massive and stuff, but Reddit definitely has this niche, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that niche does align with what ChatGPT wants to train on pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, you also a lot of content, right? So much content conversation. You get all the answers already. So
Hmm.
let's talk about how to live longer
And how
before
old are
AI
you,
takes
Shu?
over. What?
How old are you, Shu?
Too old.
Too old.
Too old. Now I need to start thinking about how to live longer.
I
Well,
know.
there's your
Too old and too late.
your
What?
chronological age, and your like
Huh.
biological age.
Biological
Or whatever.
age.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but is your
Too old.
biological age older or younger than your chronological age, Shu?
I have no idea. Just feel old in general. My back hurts and stuff like that. Anyway, so since I didn't do much preparation on how to outline the stuff, so we're gonna start with just have you guys ask me questions instead.
Okay. What is the core idea of this Outlive book?
All right. Any other questions?
Then
So
give me the number one recommendation it makes to have that you should follow if you want to live longer.
So yeah, so that's good. That's very great question. So basically, I did not learn anything from this book that's anything new. It doesn't really recommend anything like new things on what to do to live longer. Because I mean, everybody knows to live longer, there are three things you need to do, which is exercise, which you are doing, and then the other one is eat healthy, which you are doing. Well, not sure about Mike, but and the third thing is sleep good. Have good quality sleep. It's not just the amount of sleep you sleep. It's make sure you have good quality of sleep.
Mm,
So basically, yeah, sleep good. It's just sleep, exercise, eat healthy. Those are basically the three the prescription for how to live longer. So that's it.
well,
there you
However,
go.
how it does say exercise is number one. No, is the
Oh, is it?
Oh,
is the
exercise
most
is number one.
yeah, is the most potent. Assuming I guess I mean sleep. Most people sleep anyway, right? So it's not really
Mm.
not much you can do. But I think exercise has the most leverage you can do because it depends how you exercise, right? So, because a lot of people don't exercise. You know, everybody sleeps, but not everybody exercise, right?
Mm.
So
Well, I
there's
guess
a lot of study and research like correlation between your physical fitness to longevity, which kind of makes sense. And also, you know, the more you exercise, you actually live healthier too. Not just like you live longer, you actually live better life, right?
so. But does
Yeah.
it give recommendations to? Yes, everyone sleeps, but is like sleeping 5 to 11 a.m. like?
Yes. So it depends actually. Something called what they call it? He has a chapter on sleep, whole chapter dedicated to sleep. Something I think they talk about chronotype. I'm not sure. It depends on circadian. It's not really is so 5 to 11. Like the time is not for everybody because everybody different.
Okay.
And but general, a lot of people like most people sleep like in a regular hour, like from like 10 to like 5 or you know 11 to whatever in the night net dark period, right? But some
Right.
people actually not 9 hours, right? So you should not fight for it. So it should be depends on yourself. I definitely like to sleep early and wake up early, right? And but yeah, because sleep actually it affects everything else, right? Your mitochondria,
Mm.
everything else, Alzheimer's stuff. Anyway, so yeah, so sleep definitely one of the most important. I mean, it doesn't timing; it's about the quality of your sleep. I think 8 hours might not be necessary, but it's just the quality. Like, do you
Mm.
get into deep sleep, right?
If you get like
If
a
you take
good
a lot of
7 hours, it's probably good.
yeah. I think a lot of the book did talk about like melatonin. Is that one of the most drugs used for sleeping nowadays?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what
Like
it is.
Ambien something. Yeah, I think he they mentioned like no sleep they gonna help you sleep longer, like fall asleep faster and maybe sleep longer. However, you might not have a good quality of sleep. So so I think could be of course the science kind of not there yet, right? But melatonin, even though you may make you sleep longer, it might actually have an adverse effect of like degrade the quality of your sleep. So
So
you gotta be careful when you're taking drug like that.
that was the question I wanted to clarify. Was it that just it doesn't help you get quality sleep? Or does it make your quality sleep worse?
So
It
yeah,
might make it worse.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
That's why initial in the beginning of the quote, right? It's a science is a lot of science, like especially in this kind of science, is really like hard to do, right?
Yeah.
Which is hard to
No.
do, right? Yeah.
I mean, nutrition, I feel like nutrition is like the biggest example, like the thing where science seems to like go
Yeah,
back and forth and people can't decide on.
exactly. Actually,
Um,
this quote is a chapter on nutrition. Like on the beginning, that's the quote for the nutrition, because nutrition is the most hotly debated, like almost turning into a religion. Like if you want ketone diet, like different people like get hang out like a different school of nutrition and then diet and stuff. So,
yeah.
but they kind of lose the big picture of how yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have a few more specific questions. I'm glad you read this book so I didn't have to, but if you can answer specific things, that'd be more interesting. For exercise,
Yes.
any exercise, or how important is cardio specifically as someone who does a moderate amount of strength training related stuff and doesn't really consistently do cardio? Is like
Yes.
I've seen something say like it's really the cardio that's
Yes.
important. Is that what
No, not really. So there are four. He broke it down into four important components.
okay.
However, it's same thing as nutrition, right? It's hardly debated. You don't want to get into a specific school now. Okay, it's overall general. If you want to live longer, and then not just live longer, like in the 80s and 90s, you still want to able to do the stuff that you would like to do, play golf and stuff. Then you need to train on your aero what was it aerobic
Aerobic
fitness, yeah,
exercises,
aerobic fitness is strength, and then your uh yeah, both.
mobility.
You actually need to do both, right?
Mm,
So
okay.
one thing, yeah, he actually has two chapters on there. But once, so for aerobic, you need to work on your something called VO2 max, right? Your capacity to now you pick how to use oxygen, right? How much oxygen you can make, like your peak aerobic, like in VO2 max is measured. Now you remember you see all the people like wearing the mask, running on treadmill. I think that's how they measure it. So basically you do that very super intense exercise for 1 minute and then measure your VO2 max, and that is actually very like highly correlated with like longevity.
Interesting.
Right. So how do you need to increase that if you are well, of course you want to get it as high as possible. You don't need to really measure it because we are not athletes, but still you know how to get it up there. Yeah.
So I'm only vaguely familiar with the VO2 concept. This might be something Mike knows more about too. You mentioned that you measure it doing something very intense, right? So that's not an aerobic exercise, that's an anaerobic exercise, right? Like you're
Okay, sure.
sprinting, which is like you can't keep sprinting, right?
Yeah.
So like so that's how you test your VO2, but do you train your VO2? Is that
Yeah.
still a primarily aerobic training thing, like a jog, or is it like a sprint intervals? You do like anaerobic stuff, where you're consuming too much oxygen, your body can't get enough, and then it's got to like somehow adapt to, increase your VO2 or whatever. Do you all know?
I mean, well, in the book, at least I did not really get into detail how to train, how to increase it. It's just what I focus on is the importance of it.
Yeah. I get you.
Yeah, but the other one is so then there are two, right? One is something called zone 2, your zone 2 fitness, which is called, for example, is zone 2 is like it's basically in your fitness range from zone 1 to zone 7 or zone 5. How people like zone 5 is almost like your maximum peak capacity, like it would be in the VO2 max zone area. But zone
Okay.
1 is like almost like maybe walking, and you can with your friends you can talk very very comfortably. But zone 2 is where you are at a point where you exercising, like for example running, jogging, and you are jogging with your friend. You are kind of having a hard time to keep up. You are at the edge of now conversation. You can talk, but you don't want to hold a conversation, right? So that's zone 2. Specifically, he's spending a lot of time to focus on that one. He's saying this is where you want to train, like maybe an hour, like 4 times an hour, basically 4 hours per week. So the 4 times basically. You want to spend your time like one that's zone 2 training. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's I think it's something already tied back into your metabolic function. The more you spend on that time, you burns fat and glucose, right? So that's where you want to stand. So zone 2, focus on zone 2, your fitness, because some people, their zone 2 is just walking, right? Some people, if they're very unfit, walking could just push them into zone 2, right? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or some people, like for example, you might need to really like running jog, like run up a hill. Maybe that's for you because you have more maybe better fitness on that one. And so those are the two things that I got from the book, is to focus on zone 2 training, but and then also VO2 max. How do you increase that? Yeah.
So basically, I googled this in the background. So VO2, you do high intensity kind of cardio stuff.
Yeah.
Like sprints. So your high intensity cardio, and then your low intensity, long duration cardio, and then your strength training, to make your bones and muscles, keep them together. And if you can do all of that, you'll be healthy.
Yeah. Bone is like, for bone density is one thing you need to measure to over time. And he talked about what's that? Like running is really good for bone density because you actually do impact, right? You are loading your load, you are wearing your load. So he recommends something called rocking, basically wearing some kind of heavy like weighted vest and just walking around, called rocking, like climbing uphill and stuff like that. So that's one thing favorite thing to do. Yeah. So because running, I always like, oh, running is bad for you. It's kind of sometimes a lot of people impact your joint and stuff. But actually, for your bone density, is really good because swimming is not really good for your bone density, or like biking, right? So,
yeah. Squats are supposed to be good for your bone density.
Yep.
Or I guess
However,
deadlifts.
yeah. Actually, talking about those strength training, he actually spent a whole chapter on something called, I think. Hold on, he broke it down. strength, exercise strength is number one. Stability is number two. Aerobic efficiency, and it will be in the zone 2, right? And then the other one's a peak aerobic capacity is being a VO2 max. Those are the 4. So actually, I think number stability, I think is the most neglected one, but he spent a whole chapter on it, which kind of makes sense too. Stability basically talk about how good is your body and avoid injury kind of thing, right? Because if you unstable and then you will keep training to get your, I don't know, your strength, right? Especially in weightlifting like deadlifts, you are going to hurt yourself. Like squat is really good, but if you're not squatting properly, over time, you're gonna hurt yourself. So and then a lot of time these injuries actually is gonna cause you not to exercise, and that's actually degrade your health span or longevity, right? So a lot of people don't train for stability, and everybody just just do exercise, or just go in the gym, hit the gym, and then that's it. But stability is the most important thing. And squatting, actually, he spends our section on squatting. Like you take a picture, you need to take a video of yourself squatting, because if you squat down, and then sometimes your body might lean one way or the other, and most people don't realize it, right? And I never done it before myself, so I probably should do it sometime myself. Even though you feel like you know how to squat, but actually, if you haven't really see yourself how you squat,
yeah.
And most people on the squat, not even most people, I would say maybe 95% of people actually probably squatting the wrong way. Even I'm not talking about like putting any weight on it, just regular like squatting down without any weight, and take a video of yourself, see how I think it's like prolation, right? I'm not sure about it. Anyway, so basically, that's something I think you should do before you do anything else. Like, basically stability, basically training the foundation how your body moves, and because another thing about a lot of people say running is bad for you, I think it's because your body is not unstable. Because if your body is not stable, stability is another kind of definition, is how the force are transmitted through your body, right? So if your body is unstable, and like when you run, a lot of force might leak into your joints and stuff. So that's why you get injured. Because over time, it's gonna get injured if you do it all the time, and your body is just not doing it the right way, right? So anyway, yeah. So these are 4 things. Yeah. Anyway, I want to bring up stability, because that's something that we usually don't think about when you talk about exercising.
Yeah.
That's why my back is like hurting now, because I probably were doing a lot of stuff that was in proper forms. I think most people talk about forms, but they are not really. Forms are good, but stability is a broader concept, I think.
Yeah. That's why you should film yourself when you do your squats and deadlifts.
So
at
yeah,
least sometimes.
So
right?
so you have filming yourself?
I've done that a bunch of times, yeah, to like check.
So you think your squat's good?
It's all right. I think I'm I mean, it's a lot better than when I first learned to do it. But I would say I'm not built for squats with my very long legs, but I can hold it okay. I actually think body weight is almost harder. Once you get like a bar that starts to approach your weight on the bar, like the tension and the way the weight's distributed actually makes it a little easier to kind of get down in like a straight back, like centered position. It's kind of weird, but
yeah,
I don't know if you feel like that, Mike.
No,
you mean wearing a body vest?
No. I mean like a bar on your back. I'm just saying, like,
Oh.
if you just do like a body weight squat, it feels like you're the way the weight's distributed makes it harder. All right, you need more flexibility to be like in a good, like tight centered position with like a straight lower back and stuff.
Yeah, no, the flexibility hurts me, but I do agree with you that like holding out, like for me, like holding out a lightweight in front of me can help like me go up and down straighter. Like, but yeah, once it gets really heavy, then the flexibility starts to hurt me. But so, but yes, I actually filmed myself doing deadlifts last week. The trainer at the gym was like, he's like, film because we were working up to like a 1 rep max, which I'm annoyed because I had to stop because I was like, that last, like I was gonna break 300, and like at 290, like I was like, oh, my back is not straight anymore. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, you're over 30. No sense in ego. You're never
Yeah.
gonna be a pro lifter, so no sense in
Yes.
pushing more weight than you can keep good form on. But
Yeah. So another thing the whole book is about, you need to focus on your goal, right? Your goal is to, I mean, to live longer, without injuring yourself. Like, not training for longevity, instead of training for a number, like for this short-term goal where you're gonna hurt yourself, which can I don't know, decrease your longevity.
Yeah. No, I mean, all of this makes sense, but like, so I told you, Shu, like, there's this multi-millionaire who,
Yes.
like, he was part of, like, I think part of PayPal or one of the big payments.
PayPal Mafia? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like he founded this thing called Blueprint,
Okay.
which is basically like, so his name is Brian Johnson, and like basically he's all over LinkedIn, just like advertise, or not really advertising, because it's like he's developing this program on him. Like he spends like $2 million a year on trying to like make him younger, essentially.
Yes.
And like the way he deems that he's essentially reversed his aging is like basically he looks at like, okay, like my like my bench press, my leg press, like these different blood markers, like my blood pressure, all of this is like within the top 2% of 21-year-olds. Like, I guess I'm just at a point where it's like, okay, like, but all of these markers are sort of like, I feel like all of these markers at some level have to be like, because I mean, we've talked, like, I brought in the paper however many months ago at this point that basically said, like, at some point, that stability aspect, right? Like, the ability of our body to bounce back from injury, like, goes
Not bounce
away,
back.
essentially.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how good a shape you keep yourself in, like, eventually there seems to be a limit on it.
Yeah.
can't-
So the stability is not about bouncing back from injury. It's not to have injury in the first place, prevent injury, right? Like, for example, like when you're going downstairs, right? When you imagine 80 or 90, right? When you're going downstairs, if you miss a step, like how stable is your body gonna be such that it doesn't prevent you from falling or twitch your ankle, right? No, that's called stable. If you very easy twitch your ankle, that means somewhere is not stable. So train stability so that it can handle situations like a disturbance, right? Or something, or you're walking a dog and then when you're 80 years old and then your dog suddenly takes off, right? How fast are you, and like grabbing the leash or letting it go, right? Stuff like that. Like, I think going downstairs and missing a step is probably the easiest something to imagine, right? Which happen to us all the time. But can you do that? It's easy for us to do right now if we miss a step to recover from that. But can you still do that when you're 80 or 90, right? Or 70, 75?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Are you gonna get injured? And if you get injured, that's probably that's downhill from there.
Right.
So
I guess
the goal is to delay that as long as possible.
right. I mean, what makes this research hard though is like in many ways, this is like ideal living versus not ideal living is buying you months and years sort of at the end of your life, as opposed to like, when I hear the word longevity, I'm thinking of living to 300. But oftentimes I feel like a lot of these types of practices, it's like, you might like, we don't know what your lifespan, like my lifespan, if I live do all the right things longevity wise, could be, it could be like plus or minus 5 years or whatever, right? Like, or plus or minus 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's hard to like, it's not making any substantial gains. So that makes it like, or like, I mean, yes, you can 10 years is 15% of your life, which is of course very substantial, but it's like, it's not that like future, like
you're not revolutionizing like your human lifespan. I feel like if anything, what you're really buying is maybe 10 to 20 years of being able to still do stuff instead of like sit in a chair
Exactly.
like watching TV, right? Because there's like there's a lot of old people who just like struggle to move, and sometimes they couldn't have get done anything because they got like sick or whatever. But so a lot of them, it's just they became sedentary as they aged.
It's it's a disease, right? So it's another thing that exercise on is a part of the strategy, not strategy, more like tactics, like how we can do to basically delay the disease, right? Now, Alzheimer's, stroke. Like, do you want to live like 10 years, your last 10 years of your life in Alzheimer's, or we have a stroke, right, in your 70s and live the rest of 10 or 20 years in stroke condition, right?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, it's almost like knows almost like worse than death in a way, right?
Right.
So,
No, yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. Like, I guess it's just like there's a lot of biomarkers that are like, I like, so this, like, Brian Johnson cites like these million different biomarkers. And I'm like, but like, to call you a mid-50s man, like, and say, oh, I'm age 21 on these biomarkers, like, are you really at it? Like, are you really going to live to 130? Like, as I
no,
like,
do we need to though? Like,
yeah.
it's not.
I mean, we
I
want
think
to.
you
Yeah.
want to, yeah. That's your definition of longevity. I think most people, I think, just that's yeah. I think that's different. I think your concept of living your to 300, that's a little bit different. But I think might be getting there, like slowly, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're like, I guess what, like, I agree with you. It's valuable to understand like how to, yes, live without Alzheimer's, prevent stroke. Like, I'm not here like sucking on cigarettes, being like, oh, like, I'm not that nihilistic yet. But basically it's like, I agree, like, avoiding cancer, stroke, heart attack, all of this is important. But I sometimes do think like, when do we begin, like, and I'm sure there are like, I know there are companies out there trying to tackle this, but like, when do we really like look at, like, okay, let's look at a cellular level here and understand, like, how
Oh,
to prevent the, like, literally programmed in destruction
yeah.
that is happening.
I think,
Because I mean, like,
yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, definitely. I think some people are looking at that, and then I think there's a story about a guy just using his son's blood to blood transfusion, actually making him feel younger, right?
I
I
actually
think
think I did see that story. Yeah, that actually might have been Brian Johnson.
could be.
I
He's
think it actually probably was. So,
just
like I
using
said,
his son's blood.
yeah, so he wants to, like, it's pretty, like, in my opinion, just, in case he's listening and that wants to sue us, I'll say, in my opinion, it certainly seems like he wants to live forever. So it's like he's trying to,
Your
uh,
kind of man. Your kind of man.
yeah, that's right. No, I'm all for it. But yes, I think it actually was him. Yeah, because he had his, like, pretty, like, because he takes pictures like with him and his son, and it's like they do look similar, like, and of course everyone is like, they're both fucking shredded, like,
There's more reason to have kids.
yes. And so yeah, but so I think it was him. And like, yeah, he did have a blood transfusion from his son. And so it's like, I mean, I guess like maybe that is the way. Like, we have offspring, and the offspring help us out, and they have
Yeah.
offspring and they help them, and it's just,
Anyway, yeah.
it's like social security. Like, we just keep having children, and like they keep giving us money to keep us alive for longer and longer until the system collapses on itself.
Yeah.
So
This has
Yeah.
given me have you ever read the book House of the Scorpion?
No.
I've heard of it. I've not read it.
I'll spoiler it real quick. The main character turns out to be like a clone of some old rich guy whose purpose is the clone's purpose is to be harvested for organs. So once you start taking your children's blood, that starts to give me real House of the Scorpion vibes. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna have kids so that I can like harvest their body parts, right? Like,
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I
did
don't
you
know
see the
about that
movie
one.
The Island? Because it's the same. It must probably was based on that book essentially, but it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with cloning body? Just maybe in a way, just clone them without a brain.
You
That'd
know,
be
if
fine.
look, if you can do that,
You
that's
can't. No, they've done that with
Like,
mice. They've
yeah,
cloned
it's
them
almost
without
as growing
heads.
your organs in a
Yeah.
vacuum too, right?
yeah, no, I mean, if we can grow organs, that'd be great. Yeah, so
Mm.
this was like a dystopian novel, right? Where
Yeah.
like you follow the protagonist like aging. Um, before they have to be like slaughtered. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, all right. I got one more question for you, Shu, before we
Mhm.
wrap this up. So I know nutrition is an absolute mess, so we don't need to go into the details. I just want to see if it clarified one thing
Okay.
between two options. When it comes to eating, is it more important to like eat good things, like make sure you get your vegetables, or is it more important to avoid bad things, like don't have beer and wings? Because you could imagine someone who has beer and wings one
Yeah.
night, but then has like a healthy lunch the next night, or someone who eats more like moderate in general. Was that concept ever brought up?
And I didn't really grasp that from the book. I think main thing I would say is, I mean, from my personal opinion, I would say is avoiding the bad things, right? And avoiding bad thing would naturally push you toward the good things anyway. And then one thing I do, like for example, like alcohol is really really bad for your sleep. So don't drink if you're gonna drink. I mean, moderate is fine, but don't drink it like before, like few hours before sleep, right? It's gonna disrupt your sleep really bad.
Jacks up
Like,
your heart,
huh?
It's jacks up your heart, right?
Yeah. And the other one is I think a lot of people like thinking like eating all the like drink all like healthy juice, right? Like even smoothie, right? Oh, you think that's good for you. However, there's so much sugar in there, it's actually turn out really terrible for you.
Are you telling me Smoothie King isn't healthy? Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Strawberry and scoop of peanut butter.
something like that is going back to the core of the book, I guess, to prevent disease. Now, exercise is good. However, they all come back to something called metabolic function, right? So there's the 4 diseases that kill you, right? High rank. First one's heart disease. Second one cancer, and then neurodegenerative disease, like Alzheimer's, and the last one is like type 2 diabetes, right? But all these diseases are like your leading killers. But however, fundamentally, how to prevent these is focused on something called your metabolic function. Basically, how your body like process nutrients, right, and break down into and for use in your body, right? So that's something I have been focused on because I just recently just go see a doctor and then just after based on the book I do a lot. I say, oh, can you test this, test this, test this, test your. One thing you need to focus on your insulin level, right? Like insulin is bad, everything is bad, because the how high the insulin, like all these are correlate with the Alzheimer's, heart disease, or cancer, stuff like that. So one thing I get from that is that so once you test that, so I think everybody should get that insulin level really test, because when you go to actually physical, like when I actually had to specifically ask my doctor to test it, because they usually don't test it because they only test it for certain range of age, maybe about 40 years old. Like when you are like within 30, under 40, 18, they usually don't test for it, right? Because usually are healthy, but however, and also another thing is don't drink Coke. Any soda is really, really bad for you. So I have stopped drinking Coke as well because it's just way too much sugar, and then sugar is now what kind of cause you to max out your metabolic function. So, yeah, and then actually one reason of like exercise, actually, if you drink a lot of sugar, right? Exercise one way to take the sugar out of your body, kind of because it burns the glucose and stuff off your bloodstream, right? So that's how exercise kind of helps too. And the other thing is about your metabolic function is that if it's not good, your primary source of energy is going to be glucose instead of fat, right? So if your metabolic function is healthy, you actually, when you exercise, it actually burns both, use fuel like fat and sugar. But for a lot of people like metabolic dysfunction people, like obese people, right? They, even though it has so much fat, but they cannot burn it no matter how hard you exercise, because your metabolic metabolism only use glucose as fuel, and they cannot burn fat. So that's why you see a lot of, I guess, fat people exercise, but they can burn fat. So it's kind of vicious cycle. So that's one thing they really to pay attention to, which is metabolic function. So whenever if you go talk to your doctor or in the future on your next annual physical or something, you make sure you talk like looking at all this stuff. Like make sure your metabolic function is good. I think that's one of my key takeaway from the book. And don't drink Coke. And because
What about
Coke,
Diet Coke?
same thing, right?
Well, surely not the same thing.
Yeah, sure. Does
Diet.
just tastes bad. Does Diet Coke has sugar though? I think the fructose.
I mean, it has a sweetener that
Yeah.
is similar to sugar, but it's a dramatically lower amount, right? So
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
it's
But you don't
0
know
calorie.
you don't know what they say is that you don't know how it affects your metabolic function, right? Because they actually they did they do some biopsies, autopsy of some people that basically dead people, and then they realized so
Well, I hope they
sometimes
were dead.
Yes.
yeah, so when they look at livers, so livers, right, and something called like fatty liver disease, because one thing about your if you're not exercising, your metabolic function is not good. All these fats is gonna go somewhere, right? They either go to your heart, or sometimes go to your liver. So your liver is actually became really fatty, and those are actually fat. You see those actually most fatty liver usually mostly in like alcoholic people, like people that drink a lot, but they also see the same in people who drink a lot of Coke. So gotta watch out for Coke. So any kind of soda. I know Mike drink a lot, so that's why I actually this message is for him specifically.
That's right. Yes, I drink too much Diet Coke.
So yeah, so you really need to get your insulin check, the number checked, so you can stuff like that. And of course, if you can monitor your glucose too, that would be good. That's something I might try to do in the future, like see what I eat, how they influence, like affects the glucose level, right?
My glucose level actually was so I had a physical and I was actually looking at my numbers. So I had a physical in January and glucose was good.
Okay.
But
Okay.
That's
good. What about insulin?
what I don't know where that what is insulin I have
I
the
forgot. I don't think you
A1C
have
or
that. Yeah.
something.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have 2 points. One, or I guess 2 comments. This makes sense because I mean we know that so metabolic health doesn't sound like it's identical to like being a healthy weight, but it's obviously going to be really strongly correlated with that. And we know like being overweight and obese is like correlated with all of these like top killers, right? Like heart attack, strokes, even cancer. Like they're very strongly correlated with obesity, which is in some sense it is a metabolic health issue.
Actually, yeah, actually, for just one quick pressure for the actually Asians has like for me personally, I pay attention to that because thin people you think they're good, like not fat. Actually, that mean they have the less capacity to store fat. So that means the fat is actually more gonna go to their organs, right, instead of their body. So actually, for Asian people, it's even worse. So that's why I'm
skinny
actually
fat.
yeah. Even though so instead of so that's why that's why he talked about metabolic dysfunction instead of talking about obesity.
Right,
Because
right.
Asian thin people can still be metabolic dysfunction. Because yeah.
Well, see,
Anyway.
I was gonna say this goes along with a personal theory I've had that I've never had scientific substance for, but now I'll say there's at least some, which is that like I've known people who are like they're a healthy weight at least. Like I don't know how much they necessarily exercise or if they have like fat in their internal organs or whatever, but they're like not like obviously overweight. But like they have to eat every few hours. They like have to have a snack. And I feel like there's a decent number of people who seem like they can't go more than like 4 hours without eating. And I'm like, that can't be healthy, right? Like even if you're not overweight, doing that, like that's gotta be a problem. I would imagine that's some metabolic health issue. Like your body can't access, as you were talking about, like their body can't access fat, so they start to just like mentally crash because their blood sugar's running out. It's like,
Mhm.
but there's
Yeah.
I feel like that's like 30% of people or more. Like it's not
Yeah.
like a trivial thing. Like there's a lot of
Mhm.
people who seem like they have to snack.
Mhm.
Is it just me? What do y'all think?
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's like either that or their metabolism is just literally like outrageous. I don't know.
I actually not aware of those people.
You
But
never?
for me, what?
Oh no, I don't know.
I actually never. Yeah. But I do notice that I do get some headaches if I don't eat for a long time. So maybe it's me.
I feel like
Well,
there
it's a
are
long
days.
time for you, right? Like that's the key, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if it's been 20 hours, that's pretty understandable. If it's been
Yeah.
4, I would say like you have a problem. But
I guess
Yeah.
it depends on the day. There are days where I feel like I'm bad about that, but I feel like those are days where I might be bored or I might like have worked at like I may have worked out a lot in the preceding days or something.
Mhm. Yeah.
well,
Um.
there's a difference between I'm not like I guess just to be clear, it's not an issue of like you're snacking because you're bored or you're snacking because you're hungry or whatever, but like snacking because like you start to feel like ill or sick if you don't eat something, right? Like
Uh,
that's when I'd be like, as that's when it starts to seem like something more. Because who hasn't been bored and been like, I'm gonna eat potato chips even though I'm not hungry because they taste good and I'm bored, right? Like,
yeah.
that's part of being human. But
Yeah.
all right, whatever.
All right.
So yeah. Regarding, I think. So the book talk about 4 disease. The first one, I just want to quickly mention about it before we close this up. I know Matt need to go somewhere. I was saying the first one is probably the heart disease. Something about he did talk about, because he said his family has a history of like heart disease. Like all people in their family like die very young because of heart attack. And then one thing about heart disease is that the most the symptom of heart disease is sudden death, right? You don't really is a someone have a heart disease when they basically just die suddenly, right? And right there, and they can't come back anymore.
Mhm.
And then he actually build up over time. And he talked about like calcification of the vessels and some of the stuff. Actually started when you're like 17. Like over time, you actually gonna get worse. But however, you, for all of us, we already have some signs of like, I guess, accumulation of potential like danger of heart attack, stuff like that. And
Mm.
so he does insist on people like when you see a doctor, just if you have family and stuff like that in his history, you definitely should get a CT scan of your heart. And then one number to track is something called ApoB. I'm not if you guys familiar with that. That is basically a tracker like how likely it is for you to have a cardiovascular disease, right?
Mhm.
What's it? Say that again.
ApoB, APOB is something called, I just Google it. It's a main protein found in low density lipoprotein, LDL. It's known as bad cholesterol because high level of it can damage your heart and arteries. And ApoB
Mm.
level, yeah. So if you, this is before I talked to my doctor. So I think no, I read it after I talked to my doctor. So I didn't get that number checked. So that's a good number to keep track of. CT scan of your blood vessels, her heart and stuff like that. ApoB. Just get those number out of the way first. Make sure it's healthy. And if not, then you need to do something about it. Yeah.
This is reminding me to really try to figure out some sort of at least semi-regular cardio thing. Because I don't do any cardio.
Oh
Something
yeah,
to
yeah.
help your heart.
Yeah, just do so you don't like zone 2 training, right? You just
Yeah.
need to go like for certain amount. It doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 30 minutes, 20 minutes. So you need to do
Yeah, I'm
both,
sure even
really.
20 minutes, like a couple times a week, it might not hit their
Yeah,
recommendation, but that's gonna be a
yeah,
lot better than
yeah,
not
yeah,
doing it,
yeah.
right? So
It's not mainly for your heart. It's mainly for your metabolic function. Yeah, gotta keep it healthy. Yeah.
yeah. All right, all right. Last question for
Mhm.
reals, and then we'll wrap up this
You
topic
can ask more.
subject. Metabolic health makes me think. intermittent fasting. Was that brought up?
Yeah, he did talk about the method of intermittent fasting. Yeah.
Did he say it's good, bad, whatever?
I think I would say I'm not sure. I would say I'm not sure. He did talk about water-based fasting, and actually, I would say to his if the way I know him, I would say he does subscribe do think that intermittent fasting is good. Actually, fasting is really good for you. Because our cancers, right? Cancer patients, when you one way to make them feel better is actually fasting.
Mm.
And like he actually used to be a very strong believer in keto diet, but he does not anymore. But actually, he has a new episode. Actually, he was on a TV show called Limitless by Chris Hemsworth, right? No, Thor on Disney Channel Discovery, and then on one episode, actually, he was the one on the episode about diet, and that was about fasting and intermittent fasting, basically. So intermittent I'll say is definitely good for you. Yeah. So is that what you plan to do?
Sometimes.
So I would say yeah. I mean, everybody should read this book. I mean, the book is kind of hard to digest sometimes because it's a lot of. He's very very technical. So that's why I try to listen to his podcast sometimes, but it's just way too technical for me. Now he go to us way too technical for me, so I just all the time I just doze off or just can't follow. Hard for me to follow. But for someone really really enjoying science, you know, it's a good. But the book that he is a co-author by someone that actually translates his stuff into less technical form. So otherwise, is anyway. So I would say everybody should read that book. If you need to give it to someone, it's good, just to to be healthy, basically. Yeah. So yeah.
All right.
Anyways.
Well, thanks for answering all my questions, Shu.
All right. Yeah, there's so much material in this book. I just can't do it justice, but key takeaway is focus on your metabolic function, and the other one is exercise, sleep, eat good. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, I mean, I guess we can wrap it up as I don't know what we would talk about next. But
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about it later.
all my blood tests.
What?
Instead of now looking at all my blood tests.
Yes. Yeah, you should.
You can do that on your own time, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing. Have you? Are you guys go just seeing a doctor? How long did you talk to your doctor? When you were having?
I mean, I actually did like the last appointment I felt like I was pretty good about talking to him, actually.
Oh, how long?
I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Okay. What about you, man?
In my adult life, I have gone to a doctor for like a health checkup once. And then other than that, I've only go for like a specific thing.
Yeah.
And we only talk about like the specific thing.
Hmm.
So my
Yeah.
answer is I don't know. I'm not one of these people who like goes to the doctor every year to get checked
Yeah.
out.
So what I want to bring up, because the family, I think one main critique of the healthcare is that a lot of people feel like the doctor don't really care, right? You just go in, do some physical or have something, and just quickly and they just rush you out the door, right? Maximum they talk to you 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, right?
Mhm.
And I found this doctor here in Indiana, something a different model, basically something called direct family care. Basically, like instead of like getting insurance, you basically pay a subscription, a monthly subscription. So you can, and during that, you basically can see the doctor anytime you want, and basically you have more like direct relationship with them instead of So yeah, so personally I like it. When I first time, of course it's, but I talked to my doctor and then we talked for hour to almost an hour 30 minutes. We're just talking about health stuff, like and then at the end, that's why I asked all these questions to her, like, oh, can you give me these tests and stuff recommended, and I think so anyway, so it was so yeah, and after that she gave me the result and she follow up and she type emails, and then even though I can go see her anytime because right now I don't really need to, but I do, like, I can have any question, I can shoot her email or text. I say, hey, this is seems low. What do I seems high? You know, I say, oh, my insulin level, even though it's within, is borderline in a normal range, like kind of high end, but it's not diabetic or pre-diabetic yet. So that's one reason I stopped going. So okay, then I just, anytime I think of a question, I just shoot her email, say, hey, what do I need to do? And she just reply and stuff like that. I feel, anyway, I feel like as you get older, I think that might be a good model to get into instead of, because I actually have hard time scheduling like regular like any exams in like just big hospitals and just other doctor. I feel like there's so much things to go through. Whereas in here, this direct family care model where the doctor is just like right there. It's like easy for me. I just call her, make appointment. I don't need to jump through all the systems and to get a schedule, and then I just go in for like 10 minutes. I feel like being rushed too, right? But of course, the downside is that you know the monthly premium doesn't come from, you cannot use insurance for it, right? But there's a big stuff you can use insurance for, like if you get referred to some hospital for physical therapy, right? So those do cover, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, just something that I just come across recently. I find it is, and it's when you start paying attention to health, that might be a good thing to consider, right?
Yeah. No, that
Yeah.
makes sense. I think I'm still at the, I at least believe I'm still young enough that I don't need like regular doctor visits just for
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
that is a point everyone gets to, and I'm probably approaching it pretty pretty
Yeah.
quickly at this
But
rate.
yeah,
But
but the main lesson I take away from the actually in the book about longevity is starting now. It's not investing, right? The best time to start is 10 years ago, right? So we should do the same thing. Like just pay attention to like the markers, like the levels, like, and it's known that you are in a good range. That way you
yeah,
can keep continue doing what you're doing, and then yeah, prevention basically. Yeah. Instead of like right now, you just go to when you go to doctor only when you have a like some kind of like disease or something, which is kind of too late already, right?
hmm
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Till next time then.
all
Mike,
right.
let's wrap
So
it.
next time.